Hello, and welcome to your first yoga class. Thank you so much for trusting me to guide you. And please don't let any of these props intimidate you. You don't need anything to start a yoga practice. These are just some things that I think as a beginner, you might find make your practice more satisfying. So if you don't have any of these things, then maybe just take this class without any props. And then if you decide that you like it and want to continue, then you can try to locate some of these props and take the class again. So I've got some blankets, a couple of blocks, just a regular hand towel, and a yoga strap that has a loop in it. You can make a loop in it. You could also just use one of those, like an exercise band, any kind of elastic. Round band would work well. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I've stacked the blankets here as a place to sit, but if you're a beginner, you might find that even sitting on a stack of blankets like this is not possible to do without your knees coming up above your hips. And if that is the case for you, then I really recommend that you have a chair to sit on. So this is a great place to start so that you can bring your spine into its natural curves rather than having to round down because your hips are still tight at the moment. So I'm going to use the chair for several different things throughout the practice to try to give you modifications on everything that we do. And then you can choose to use them or not use them as you see fit from one pose to the next. Okay, so either sitting on your blankets or on the edge of your chair, and you'll rock your pubic bone forward so that you find this natural curve of your low back. And your knees, if you are sitting down on some blankets, are cascading down away from your hips. And then inhale your shoulders over your hips. Hands are resting on your thighs. Reach up through the crown of your head. And just begin to notice your breath. Notice the sensation of the air as it goes in through your nostrils, down the back of your throat, filling your lungs. And exhale as that air reverses direction, leaving your lungs and going back up your throat and out your nose. As you inhale, feel your rib cage expand in 360 degrees like an umbrella opening. Exhale, slow, steady release. So just following your breath, just noticing now without manipulating it. And now take a deep inhale. And as you exhale the air, make it a slow, steady exhalation that lasts longer than your inhalation. Notice the pause at the bottom of the breath. Inhale a deep breath. Little pause at the top. Exhale, slow, steady exhalation. And then resume normal breath. When you're ready, take another complete inhale. Really filling your lungs from top to bottom, feeling the expansion of your rib cage as you continue to lift up through the crown of your head. And after the little pause at the top, lengthen the exhalation even more Exhaling until you feel like you have no air left to push out. And then try to push out just a little bit more, maybe pursing your lips like you're blowing out through a cocktail straw, and noticing the contraction of your belly at the very end of the exhalation. Normal breath. Inhale deeply. Pause. And then another of those slow, steady exhalations, pushing out all the air possible and feeling that contraction of your abdomen as you reach the very end of the breath. Just noticing that sensation at the end of the exhalation of all your internal organs hugging toward the midline, the muscles that wrap around you like a corset, hugging together. Breathe. On your next inhalation, lift your arms up and over. Exhale, lower them down. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, lower down. So use the entire length of the inhalation to lift your arms, and the entire length of the exhalation to lower them. Just beginning to sync movement with breath now. Once more. And pause. Notice how you feel. And now we're going to take what's called a cat and a cow position, but we're going to continue to do this while seated. So on your exhalation, tuck your tailbone under now. So now you're rounding through the back, starting with your pelvis, moving through each vertebra as you round through the back of the shoulders, bringing your head forward, and then inhale, start with the pelvis. Bring your pubic bone forward and down, arch your back, bring your chest through your shoulders. Gaze up without cranking the neck. Exhale, rocking back towards your tailbone, rounding through your entire back. Inhale, pubic bone moves forward and down. Chest comes through. Gazing up. So again, using the entire exhalation to move through the cat version, and the entire inhalation to move through the cow. Just doing that movement until you feel satisfied, and then stopping and pausing with your back in a neutral position. So between those two extremes. Maybe close your eyes, notice how you feel. Always taking the time to check in with yourself. And then if you're seated in the chair, go ahead and come off of the chair, and we'll come onto our stomachs. If you've got a blanket nearby, then this can be nice for a headrest. You can put your forehead on top so that your nose isn't getting squished into the mat. You can also take another blanket for comfort underneath the bony points of your hips. Sometimes that can feel good, just giving you options. You don't need to do any of this. And then another blanket or another rolled up yoga mat, something that can just form a small roll under your ankles. I'll show you as we come onto our stomach how we're going to place this. And again, you don't need to do this. I'm just giving you options for ways to maybe make this a little bit more comfortable. So arranging your props and just bring your arms to your sides. You can also just make a pillow with your hands if you don't have the blanket. And we'll start just by activating our glutes. So tuck under the toes of your right foot. Push back through the heel of your right foot until you feel your knee lift up off the ground. And then keeping that leg lifted, point the toes of your right foot. And then bring that foot down. Switching sides, tuck under the toes of your left foot. Push back through your left heel, feel your knee lift, and then feel the engagement of your glutes as you point your left toe. And then release. Just going back and forth through the sides. Tuck under the toes of your right foot, push back through your right heel. Point your toes so that your leg is lifted, and then release. Tuck under the toes of your left foot, really straighten through the leg, press back through that heel. Keep the leg lifted as you point your toes, and then lower. And just moving at your pace, using the entire length of the inhalation for the first part, and the entire length of the exhalation as you release. Tucking under the toes, pushing back through your heel. Leg stays lifted as you point, and lower down. Just take a couple more of these. Push back through the heel, point the toe, keep the leg lifted, and release. Tuck under the toes of your left foot, push back through your heel, point, and release. And then just rest. Notice how you feel. And then we'll move on to the upper body. Hope you guys are doing okay. I'm facing down now, so haven't been looking at the camera. My apologies. All right, so your forearms come down beside you. You have cactus arms here. They're bent in about a 90-degree angle. And then inhale, you're going to leave your elbows down and lift your forearms up. So without flicking at the wrist, keep your forearms in line with your hand. Elbows down, lift the forearms up. Now lift your elbows. Inhale, reach your arms forward. Exhale, draw your elbows back, squeeze between the shoulder blades, and then lower your elbows, lower your palms. Inhale, lifting from the back of the palms. Lift your elbows. Inhale, reach as far forward as you can. Exhale, drawing your elbows down. Let your elbows touch the floor. And then your forearms. Inhale, elbows down, forearms up. Lift the elbows. Reach forward. Exhale, elbows come down, shoulder blades squeeze together. And elbows come back before they come down. Inhale, forearms come up, elbows up. Reach forward, that's the inhale. Exhale, squeeze your shoulder blades together, lower the elbows, lower your forearms. Inhale, reach forward. Exhale, squeeze between the shoulder blades, elbows down, palms down, release. We just take a couple more of those. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, forearms up, elbows up, reach. Exhale, as your elbows drop back, squeeze between the shoulder blades, lower the elbows, lower the palms. And then just rest. So always taking the time to just stop, notice how you're feeling, listen to the feedback of your body as you move through all of these different postures. And I'm going to get this blanket out of the way as well as the rolled one, and we'll come onto our backs. And this is where you might want to have a strap and a block handy, as well as your little towel there. So come down onto the back. I do really enjoy a blanket, some kind of a support, just feels comfortable underneath the back of your head, so not touching your shoulders here. And we'll start just by continuing with that rocking motion that we did when we were seated at the beginning, those pelvic tilts. Now, your towel can be handy to place under the small of your back so that you have an awareness of this natural curve. And then as you exhale, you'll press your low back into the towel as your pubic bone moves in the direction of the ceiling. And then on your inhale, you'll feel your low back lift away from the towel as your pubic bone moves forward and down. So you're just rocking back and forth. You can experiment what it feels like with the towel, without the towel, but initiating the movement with the pelvis. So we're not lifting our pelvis yet. We're just rocking back and forth on our sacrum, that flat, bony part that's above our tailbone. Feeling our low back come away from the mat or imagining that it could, and then exhale, feeling our abdominal muscles engage as we rock back. All right, and then find yourself in a neutral position. So about a towel width or a hand width underneath the small of your back. And then we'll grab the strap and place it around your ankles if you have a strap and you want to use it. So the strap is going to come so that your feet are about hip width distance apart from one another. And then you'll take your block, if you have that, and place it between your thighs so that you're squeezing the block, drawing it close to your groin, but not touching. And the purpose of this is to steady yourself and maintain muscular action as we now lift and lower the pelvis. So if you don't have the props, then you can still just follow along with this. It may feel more wobbly if you're just doing this for the first time, but as you inhale, you'll squeeze the block, pull out on the strap, lift your hips. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, pull out on the strap, squeeze the block, lift the hips. Exhale, come down. So I'm not rolling down through the spine. I'm just lifting my pelvis up and down. Coming back to find that natural curve as I lower myself. The entire inhalation takes me up. The entire exhalation takes me down. Inhale up. Exhale down. And you can do this with just one of the props, with neither of them. So experiment with how you feel. Your heels are as close to your, I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. Your heels are as close to your seat as it feels comfortable. So that way, when you're lifting your pelvis up, you're sending the work into your glutes more than into your hamstrings. And if you feel like you're starting to cramp in your hamstrings as you lift, then just don't lift up as high, and see if you can readjust to draw your heels a little closer to your seat. So just lifting and lowering. If you want to add the arms, you can inhale, lift your arms up and over. Try to avoid the blanket. Exhale, lower down. Inhale with straight arms. Bring them as wide as you need to so that the back of your hand can touch the floor as you lift. So the entire inhalation takes you up and over. The top of the inhalation, you feel the backs of your hands touching the floor. And as you exhale, the end of the exhalation, your palms are touching. Listen to your body. Always pausing when you need to. All right. Just rest. Notice how you feel. And we'll take the strap off of our ankles if you have it, and come now back onto our bellies for a forearm plank. And I do encourage you, if you have a blanket, to give yourself a little bit of extra padding underneath your knees. You may have to play around a little with the blanket position, because as you walk your knees back to come into the forearm plank, you want to make sure that they're still on the blanket. So now you can take your strap. You'll probably, every body is different. So you'll want to find the width of your shoulders, which is different than the width of your hips. And find a spot, if you're using the strap, that's just above your elbows, and where you're not too close together, you're not too far apart. See that your wrist is in line with your shoulder. And then come down onto your forearms. I'm going to actually walk this back a little bit. Come down onto your forearms. Again, you do not need the strap to do this. It just helps with, it serves as like an external ligament. So it can make you feel more stable, which can be helpful when you're first starting. So now you're on all fours, and then your shoulders are directly over your elbows. Walk your knees back. Tuck your tailbone under this time, so your tailbone is moving in the direction of the floor until you feel your belly engage. Really draw your internal organs into the basin of your pelvis. Push the floor away like you're pushing an elephant. Really create more space behind the shoulders. Let your shoulders wrap around you like wings, so you're not sinking into your shoulder blades. Breathe, come down when you need to. Start where you're at, meet yourself where you're at. Breathing. Drag your knees without actually moving them. Imagine that you could drag your elbows and your knees toward one another. Not pushing out through the front of your belly. And then to come out, walk yourself back. Widen your knees and come into a child's pose. Depending on how tight your hips are, this may look like this right now. So you can use a block or a blanket underneath your head if that feels better to you. Just breathe, release all effort. Enjoy the moment of rest. Let each inhalation stretch the muscles of your back. All right, and then we will come up and head into a low lunge. So this can be done on the floor or with a chair. So I'll show you on the floor how that would look. The blocks, again, super helpful here so that you feel supported. let the blocks serve as your artificial floor. So you're bringing the floor to you. And then if you're on the floor, you'd step your left foot forward. The right knee stays down and you're using the blocks to lift up. And then you're melting your pelvis toward the floor and resisting that with your right thigh. So breathing into that. If you want to use the chair for this, then you can hang on to the back of the chair, step your left foot forward, your right foot back, and then come into a lunge this way using the support of the chair. So find what works for you. This is a special yoga chair, which is kind of nice because it has no back, but whatever chair you choose, make sure that it's stable and has like grippy feet on it. You can also put it up against the wall with the seat part facing toward the wall, and that way it's not going to slide. So you can put that on your yoga mat. Okay, and then bring your left knee to meet the right and switch sides. Right foot coming forward, left foot coming back. Use the blocks for height. Try to stay light on the blocks. You're not trying to rest all your body weight in them, but you're melting your pelvis down toward the mat and resisting with the back thigh. So you're drawing the front of your back thigh toward the back of your back thigh. Breathe. Slow, steady breaths. And when you're ready, come back to standing or bring your right knee to meet the left, and we'll all meet in a standing position. So let's just take a moment to feel Tadasana. And I'll do this facing you to the side so that you can see the stacking of my bones. But first, just start by looking down at your feet, wherever you're at. Line up the outer edges of your feet with the outer edges of your mat. So the outer edges of your feet are parallel to one another. Your big toes are slightly together, heels are slightly apart. And then shift your weight back 2/3 into your heels. Press down through the space that's in the front part of your heel on the sole of your foot to straighten your legs. And then inwardly spiral your inner thighs behind you so that your low back comes into its natural curve. So we're not standing like this with our tailbone tucked, but rather we can see if we're looking at the mirror that our pubic bone is at an angle to the earth, not 90 degrees, like perpendicular to the earth. So your weight is 2/3 in your heels. Inhale, stack your shoulders over your hips. And then lift from the back of your skull, crown of your head lifted, chin parallel to the earth. And continue to press down into the floor as you reach up through the crown of your head. Your legs are active, your shoulders are relaxed. Notice your breath. And then coming out of Tadasana, find your way toward a wall. You can use the back of your chair if that feels better to you, or if you do not have a wall handy. But we'll come into a down dog at the wall. Down dog is a pose that is often taught in beginner classes, but there are so many steps leading up to down dog. And I think that pose can be quite intimidating for beginners of yoga to see and experience in a class. So we're going to try it at the wall. So bring your hands to the wall. You're in Tadasana, the pose that we were just in. And with your hands at about chest height, you're going to hinge at the hips. So not rounding through the back. Hinge at the hips as you step your feet back, keeping those Tadasana feet with the outer edges parallel to the outer edges of the mat. And then whatever amount works for you, you're going to walk your hands down, moving in the direction of an L shape. So today, that might just be here. Maybe this is where your hamstrings are at today. Honor that. Stay there. Otherwise, you're pushing yourself back into an L shape. And wherever you're at, you're moving your pelvis in the opposite direction of your shoulders. Your inner thighs continue to spiral back behind you. Breathe into your hamstrings. Listen to the feedback of your body. So we want to move at the speed of our body's tissues. Don't force anything. Don't go into your deepest stretch right at the beginning. Breathe through each step so that you're not overstretching. If you're in an L shape, roll your upper arms in toward each other. And then squeeze your forearms together like you're holding a beach ball. Whenever you need to come out, inhale, step yourself back up toward the wall. Take a minute, find Tadasana. All right, I hope everybody's doing okay and enjoying this so far. Hopefully you're finding some connection with your body, maybe feeling some things wake up that haven't been maybe woken up for a while. All right, so now using the wall for balance, you can turn toward the wall. This is another where you could use the chair for support. So this is just to help with your balance as you're doing this, but we're going to lift up onto our heels. So roll through the entire length of your foot. Inhale, come up onto your toes. Exhale, use the entire exhalation to lower back down. Inhale, feel your calves engage. Notice your balance as you lift onto your toes. Exhale, roll back down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, really press down into your toes. See how high you can come. Notice the activation of your calf muscles. Slowly lower. So the magic is in the middle with all of this. So don't let there be a destination, like just trying to get to the top of the movement or back down to the bottom. Use the full breath and notice all the little spaces in between the two end points of what we're doing. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower down. Okay, so now either stay with your chair to do this or not. We'll come into a calf stretch. So hands at the wall, your left foot comes forward, right foot comes back, and then you'll bend into, make sure that each foot is in its own lane so that your legs aren't too close together. Give yourself some space for this. Your left foot comes forward and your right foot comes back, and then pressing back through your right heel, bend into your left knee. So it's a stretch for your calf. And find what works for you. So you may need to step closer to the wall if your calves are a bit tighter. You might feel like you need a little bit more space. You have more space to move. And check out your heel. Know that if you move it a bit to the right, we're not rotating it out, but if your heel is closer to the midline, you can slowly begin to move the outer edge of your foot to be parallel with the outer edge of the mat for a bit more stretch. And then just driving down through that back leg, that straight leg, as if your leg could extend all the way down into the center of the earth. And then inhale, step yourself back up. Switching sides, left foot comes back. And then bend into your right knee, stretching back through your calf. Breathing. Use the wall for traction. And then inhale. Step back, let your arms come to your sides. Find that Tadasana pose. Breathe. All right, so now this is a place where you can use the chair or the blocks, depending on what your how mobile you are today. So if you have the chair, then like I said, this is a good way to keep the chair nice and stable, just pushing it up against the wall. And then totally optional, you can add a blanket onto the chair just for a little bit of comfort. You can also add blankets onto the chair so that you are changing the distance that you'll be lowering down. So what we're going to start with is a wide leg forward fold. So I'll show you what it looks like on the blocks after this. But with your chair set up, you'll step your legs apart. You can also heel toe them apart. And then hinging at the hips, so not rounding our back to come down. As you inhale, imagine your pelvis going up and over the heads of your thigh bones, and then come to your chair. And then you can come down onto your elbows from here onto your forearms, and just find a place that works for you. You might just be up on your hands and you still feel a stretch back here. So if you're using the blocks, then you can use one or both blocks to come down, lengthen through the spine. Wherever you're at, your weight is shifting into the front of your feet now. So we're not letting our seat come back behind our heels. Find what works for you. And then wherever you're at, you can even stack the blocks this way. There's so many different ways to use the blocks. Wherever you're at, bring your right hand to your right hip, shift your weight over to the right, and then inhale, twist your right shoulder open. So you're opening toward the wall to your right. And maybe feeling now a stretch on the inside of your left leg. Breathe. And then come back to center. Bring both forearms down, hands down. Take a moment and then switch sides. Left hand comes to left hip. Shift your weight over to the left. And then inhale, open up through your left side body. Now feeling a stretch on the inside of your right leg. And notice where your blocks are at. Have them directly, check to see that they're directly underneath your face. And same with the chair. And then back to center. Wherever you're at, find a way that works for you to come up. So maybe first that means heel toeing your feet together, bending at your knees, bringing your hands to your thighs, and inhaling, coming up. All right. And now we'll come into a twisted triangle using the support of our props. And we'll find a stretch now through the outside of our leg. So if you are using the chair, just remember that there are different heights to the chair. So you might just want to start at the tallest part of your chair, otherwise the seat. And then if you have more mobility, then you would use the blocks. So from here, I'm going to just use it at this height since it's in front of me. Step the right foot forward, the left foot back, finding the right foot in front of the right hip, the left foot in front of the left hip, so that you've got some room to move your pelvis between your legs. And just start by inhaling that hinging action, not the rounding, hinging action until you find your chair, either the back of the chair, the top of the seat, or your blocks. Your right hand comes to your hip as your left arm is forward. And then inhale, we're going to twist again like we did before, opening up through the right shoulder, continuing to press into the right foot. So the front leg is really strong. Your back is as much in its natural curves as you can, so you're not like tucking under like this. If you hinge and lengthen, then you'll feel the stretch more on the outside of your leg. And always feel free to try things in different ways. Notice how it feels when you do something one way, and then when you try it a different way. It's a practice of self-discovery. You're having the conversation with your body. Breathe, always breathing. And then turn your chest back toward the chair or toward the floor, and then inhale. Come on up. Step your left foot to meet your right. Notice how you feel. Left foot comes forward, right foot comes back. Draw your left hip back, bringing your left hand to your left hip. And then inhale your right arm up as you come up and over, reaching down for the chair or for the blocks. And then when you feel ready, inhaling, opening through the chest. And if you're on the blocks here, just move this out of the way. If you're using the blocks, remember you can stack them in all different ways to find a height that works for you. Just make sure they're far enough in front of that front leg so that you feel like you have room to move and you're not like cramped up. So focus on the length. Breathe. Press into the outside of or press down into your front foot. And then to come out, turn your chest toward the floor. Inhale, come up, step your right foot to meet the left, and breathe. Notice how you feel. All right. So now I'd like to do that to the down dog at the wall one more time. See if you notice a difference between how it feels now that we've stretched the inside and the outside of our legs, and just notice if you feel any difference between the first time that we did it. So hands to the wall, feet hip width distance apart, outer edges lined up with the outer edges of the mat. Walk yourself back. And if you don't have a wall handy, but you do have a chair, then you can use the chair just like you would the wall. Breathing. Shoulder blades are squeezing together as your upper arms roll in. Maybe you find a little bit more space this time. Maybe not. Again, just remember that idea of moving at the speed of your body's tissues, not forcing anything. Inhale, walk yourself back up, and take a breath. All right, so now We'll start to wind down and come down onto our backs. You may want that your blocks handy or the blanket and for head support. And we'll start with our legs up the wall. So just come down onto your back and walk your legs up the wall. If you don't have a wall, you can also do this without the wall. But the wall is kind of a nice support when you're just getting started. So with your feet up the wall, cross your right ankle over your left knee and open up your right knee. And this might be enough. This might be, you may already be feeling something on the outside of your right hip. But if you have more room to move, you'll bend your left knee as you drag the sole of your left foot down the wall any amount until you feel a stretch in your outer hip. Walk your rib cage away from your pelvis and notice if you're pressing your low back into the mat, and see if you can do that pelvic tilt where you're bringing your pubic bone forward and down a bit, creating a little bit more space under your low back. And just notice how that changes the intensity of the stretch. And maybe that doesn't feel good to you, maybe it's too much. Always know that you can go back. You can back out of anything that doesn't feel right to you. Breathe into the outside of your right hip, wherever you're at. And then coming out the way that we came in, uncross your right leg, cross your left leg over, draw the sole of your right foot down the wall if it feels comfortable. Well, I shouldn't say if it feels comfortable, because sometimes it's the discomfort that is where the growth is, right? So being uncomfortable is okay. Being in pain is something that we really want to take a look at. So if it feels painful, then find a new way of doing it to reduce that. But if you're just feeling discomfort, then just breathe through the discomfort. Knowing that this, like all things, will not last forever. Everything comes and goes. And just tuning in to sensation in your body. And then walk your foot back up, uncross your left foot. Just let your legs come up the wall. And then grab a block if you've got one handy and scooch back toward the top of your mat as gracefully as you can. And grab that block. Bring your feet close to your seat, your heels close to your seat. Lift up and place the block underneath your sacrum, that flat bony part above your tailbone. Let your arms come out to the side. So just a supported back bend. It should feel fairly comfortable to rest with the block here. If it's too far up towards your low back, it won't feel as comfortable as a bit closer to your tailbone. So experiment with the placement of the block. Feel yourself in a supported back bend. Continuing to draw more deeply inward, letting go of all effort now. And then remove the block. Lower yourself down. Extend your legs out. Maybe grab a blanket to cover yourself with. And maybe even another blanket or a pillow for under your knees. Let's start by learning Shavasana in a way that feels very supportive and comfortable. Cover your toes. Maybe use that towel or an eye mask to block out the light. Let your arms go wide, creating lots of space between your body and your arms. Take the time to get the props right. Let your feet flop out to the sides. Walk your shoulders out from under you so that your back feels wide on the mat. Let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Let all the muscles of your face release. Notice the sensation of the breath, following the inhalations and the exhalations. At the end of each exhalation, releasing your jaw. Let your eyes sink deeply into their sockets. And when you notice the thoughts begin to arise, gently return your attention to the breath without judgment. Shavasana is considered the most advanced of the poses. I encourage you to stay here as long as you can. When you need to come out, slowly feel into the tips of your fingers, making small movements. Turn your knees up toward the ceiling. And draw one sole of your foot at a time to the floor. Roll on to one side. And turn your chest toward the mat, using your arms to press yourself up and back into a seated or standing posture. Maybe finding yourself on the chair to finish. Rocking your pelvis forward, lifting up through the crown of your head. Inhale your arms up and over. Exhale, hands to heart center. Thank you so much for being here with me today and making it through your first, I hope, of very many yoga practices. Namaste.